Hello everyone, David Klecker here, the creator of AutoHARP3. I'm here to talk about the combat system that exists within this application. The idea of this combat system, the way I designed it, is that it was to basically work from the beginning of your combat all the way to the end of your combat. So it should be a full-on encompassing tool that helps you with just keeping track of all things characters when it comes to the combat situation. So attacks, melees, missile, casting spells, elemental, attack, utility, and maneuvers. And all of them are based on the actions that you can select from the application itself. And those actions come from the books that you will be installing. So Harp Fantasy has a list of actions, and when you install Martial Law, you'll get a list of new actions from there as well. So how do you begin to run combat in AutoHARP3? A couple of ways that you can start combat. Number one, you can have all of the characters already open in AutoHARP3. I showed you before that you can have as many characters and creatures as you want open. They all show up in the dashboard. If you have them all open, you can always go to the tools and open combat, and they will all be imported into the combat application. You can also have created a campaign file. You would have opened up all of those character sheets and you would have done a file save for campaign, and then you would have created a campaign file. And from that campaign file, we can always go ahead and click on Open Combat, and we can go ahead and click on that campaign file, and it's going to open up all of the character sheets that are in that campaign file like it would, except instead of going to the main screen for the application, it's going to come here to the main combat screen. So at this very first screen for combat, all we have is this dashboard up here, this nav bar up here. We can choose to go back to main screen if we want to, and then we can always choose to start combat. Now there's a reason why I have this set up so that you press play to start combat, and then over here you're going to notice that there's a stop button, but it's kind of hidden right now by the dialog box. Starting combat allows you to basically go back and forth between your main character sheets and combat. So you'll see when I'm in the combat main screen that I'm actually able to open up my character sheets, and then I'm able to come back to combat exactly where I left off. I'll get to that shortly. Right now, let's talk about this roll initiatives and declare actions window. So this will always come up for each round that happens in your combat, and you can do a number of things. You can go ahead and select certain initiative settings, and that'll determine your initiative bonus. If you want to select multiple initiative settings, you can always, for example, just find the one that is applicable to your character, like maybe weapon not ready. You hold the control key down and click, and that will select that option there. You'll notice that I have two options lit up, so if you wanted to go ahead and remove one of these options, you hold the control key and click on that option, and it will remove it. So it's a multi-select list box, and you select multiples by holding down this control key, and you deselect multiples by holding down the control key as well. You don't have to use the initiative settings. You can always go ahead and just put in your own initiative bonus if you want. These are fields that you can enter information into. With initiative roll, you can always go ahead and enter this information in manually as well. Each player rolls, and then you go ahead and you type in, so whatever Kira got, Magor, Piloth, and the Ogre. Or you can just go ahead and just roll initiatives, and it will roll all of them. The computer will roll all of them randomly. You'll notice that the characters have switched positions because it is now sorted based on the initiative rolled. So Akira is first, the Ogre is second, Magor is third, and so on. You can choose different actions per character. Right now all of melee has been selected, but let's just say for Akira, well, I'm going to do a melee attack for Akira. For the Ogre, I will leave the melee attack there, but for Magor, I'm going to do a cast spell, and for Piloth, I'm going to go ahead and do a charging action. If you select an action that contains more than one round, that number of rounds will appear here, and of course that action won't happen until those number of rounds have expired. If at any reason, or for any reason, if at any point during the new level, the roll initiatives declaration part of the combat, you want to add in a new character sheet or delete a character sheet, we can go ahead and do that as well. So if you want to import a monster from the database, you can just select import monsters from database, select the monster you want to import, select the number of which you want to import, and then go ahead and select on import monsters, and that will appear here in the initiative. Same thing with import monster character from file. You can go ahead and select that, and I can go ahead and select any of these character sheets that I want to add in. For example, I might want to add in Zero Stonefist to my combat, and he will be added down here as well. Now, of course, I'm going to need to put in their initiatives, and I'm going to need to put in their actions as well. If you don't want the character to be in this combat for the next round, you can always delete it. So for example, let's say that I'm going through my combat and Goblin Zero has died. He's no longer part of my combat. I can always just go ahead and remove him from combat. I don't have to worry about doing any actions for him anymore. So I should probably roll initiatives again, or I can always just type in an initiative. You just have the player just type in their initiative, and we'll just go ahead and give him a 10. When it comes for action, what I might do is, I think this is a monk, so I'm going to have him activate a chi defense. I'm also going to have him do 2 actions so I can show you how that works as well. So let's go ahead and click on finished, and this is going to bring me now to my main character, my main combat screen. So you see here on the left hand side I have information for the attacker and the attack that's going to happen, and that attack property information here is based on the action. So if I selected a different action, this property information will change based on what is needed so that I can perform that action in this combat. You'll notice that Defender doesn't have any information. That's because I haven't selected a foe, but if I select a foe like Ogre, then that information will appear here. Results for the round show up here when we basically perform an action and we need the results. And that result will happen for a maneuver, for a spell, and for a melee. And some of these actions use both. So some actions might have a maneuver and melee or a spell and attack. Starting here with the attacker, we have some information here. We have the name, the armor, DB, and chi defense. So since there's no chi defense here, there's no reason for me to do activate chi defense on this particular character. There's his endurance. The first number is the number of endurance points that they have left. The second number is the number of endurance points that they have for max. Same thing here with power points. There is an edit button here, so you can always click on this edit button. You can always go ahead and update any of this critical information. So let's say, for example, that they were 2 rounds of stun for this character, but this character doesn't stun, so you can always go ahead and remove those from the critical for the character. Careful with these 2 fields down here. There's a reason why there's a -1. 0 means that it's an immediate death, or 0 rounds down means that he's immediately down. So any value other than -1 means it's either going to be immediate if it's 0 or 1 round until that actually happens. So -1 is the default that says nothing's actually going on with rounds till death and nothing's going on with rounds down. So I'm going to go ahead and update this. All of that same information is here with the Defender. It's including the edit button. I can always go ahead and edit his critical information as well. We have the attacker name here that's been selected, but I can select any one of these and just go out of order if I want to. It's entirely up to you. Next to the attacker, I have a button that allows me to open up this person's character sheet, and I can go ahead and I can make changes. And those changes will be reflected in the attacking character as we go back. So any change that I make, for example, if I were to update my weapon axes from 12 to say 13, this bonus 73 will actually be updated in combat. And I can easily go back to combat by just clicking on the back to combat, and that's going to take me right back to where I left off, and it will also save my character sheet for you. Okay, so I need to select my weapon. I'm going to select the Bastard Axe. That should automatically select the critical and the size, but if it doesn't, you have the option to select those. It gives you the weapon OB and the OB that you have used for this action. Since Akira hasn't acted yet, this OB used for action is 0, and he's got 73 that he can use as a weapon OB. So I'm going to go ahead and let him do a 63. I'm not going to have him do a full attack, so he's going to parry with 10 the next time he gets he's a defender. If he's attacking somebody with a flank, rear, or they're unaware, I can select any or all of these, I suppose. Since it's a checkbox, all of these can be selected. If the attacker is, let's say, or the person I'm attacking is stunned or down, I can go ahead and click on these. So if that says stunned or if it says downed on it, you can go ahead and click on one of those. You can put a modifier in there if you so want to. This would be a modifier that's in addition to any of these modifiers that you have selected. There's my distance from target. This is a Bastard Axe, so this is a melee attack, so there's really no distance from target. It's not a missile attack. There's my player roll. I can put in whatever I want, or I can let the computer roll, and just by leaving it 0, the computer will roll that for me. There's also notes, and these notes are static, so whatever you type in, they're going to remain that way until the end of the campaign or the end of the combat. and they will continue to stay that way until you make changes. So whatever notes you put in there, they'll remain there. You can change them up whenever you want. They'll always show up, even if you're a defender. Those notes will always be there. They're great for like certain things that you want to remember to do with the character. That could be maybe related to spells, or maybe something that might have been related to a critical. Like for example, you can say that he's using his offhand, so you might want to put a modifier in there as a -10 or -20 based on whatever you think that modifier is going to be. Let's quickly go over to Defender, where we again have the same information, and we have the Defender that's listed here. This is based entirely on what they selected, so there's no reason for us to make a change. But again, I can always come here to Open Defender Character Sheet, and I can go ahead and make changes to this character sheet, and when I'm done, I can always go back to the Combat again, which is listed up here for me to click on and go back to. I can select my weapon. Since this is a melee attack, I can always select Claymore, and then I can have him parry with a 10. So we'll have him parry with a 10. If it was a missile attack, I can go ahead and say that he's got cover, but since this is not a missile attack, I won't give him any cover. No special bonus, and he has a chi defense. There's no chi defense for him to use, so there's really no reason to have an active chi defense clicked on here. Same thing with notes. I can type in whatever I want that's applicable to this character for this combat. This gives me the opportunity to remember certain details if I need to remember them. I have listed and I've typed in all the information that I need, so I'm ready to make my attack, and let's see if it lands, and it does. It lands pretty hard, and I think that's because I rolled a pretty high roll. So there's my player roll, a 91. That's what the computer rolled for me. And my action is over here on the results for round. It tells me what type it was, an attack. It's color-coded for that. Tells me how many hits, tells me who I attacked, so it tells me that I attacked the ogre. That's the picture you see there. Gives me the information about the critical, so -25 penalty, 3 rounds stunned, and 2 rounds bleeding per round. It also gives me the description of the critical itself. If I put my mouse over it, it's going to flip the card around. It's going to give me the same information about my critical here, and it even allows me to edit that information of the critical, so I can go ahead and make any changes to this. For example, I might even say that for update round, maybe he's not stunned. So I can go ahead and just put a 0 in there and just update the critical information, and you'll notice that the stun has been removed. All of the attack information is listed here. So this is my attack result. It was 100. So obviously my crit is going to be in that zone. My defense for the ogre was a 35. So he must have, had the 25 plus the parry of 10 wasn't enough. I rolled a 91, and then there is the critical information. Now you'll also notice that I have buttons here. I have this left and right button. If I had to click the right button, you'll notice that the critical information actually goes up. And if I click on the left button, you'll notice that the critical information goes back. Now here's the problem with this. Remember, I just removed this creature's stunned information. Well, that information came back. That would be pretty hard to keep track of that. So if you do change the critical table back and forth, do remember, or kind of remember that that's going to reset any changes that you've made to the critical beforehand. So it's always a good idea to just decide if you're going to be going up and down. I know there's some talents and there's even some fumbles where you can even kind of decide that I'm going to go up or I'm going to go down when it comes to. I think there's even a spell. I think it's called Warrior's Might that allows me to go up 1 critical level if that's what's necessary. So if you need to go back to normal, you can always click on reset. This should take me back to where I was. Something got a little out of whack, but I do believe that I'm supposed to be at 196 and 100. I know that because my attack result is in fact a 100. So that's exactly the stunned value that I'm supposed to get for that. Okay, so again, I didn't want him to be stunned, and I want to choose this as my critical value. So I'm going to just get rid of that stunned, and I'm going to go ahead and now go to the next round. Now you'll notice that, the next character. When I go to the next character and I mouse over this again, all of that edited information is gone because that information has now been applied. And we see that it's been applied. His endurance is actually down. We have bleeding and we have his penalty. If I kept the stun, a indicator here would say that he was in fact stunned, and it would be pretty hard to miss. I'm going to have the ogre go. He's got a melee attack. I've already shown you how melee attacks work, but I do want to show you that in his new attack coming here, he has already used 10 of his OB in this attack. But I do give you the weapon OB as a straight up 66. And I just do that because I don't want to hold your hand in whatever value you want to put in for OB. I mean, quite literally, you should only be putting in a 56. But, that value is going to be between you and the player, so whatever value you put in there, I will allow any value you want. It's a typable field, so you can go ahead and update that field however you see fit. Modifier, again, is entirely updated by you, and your player role and notes, again, can be updated by you. Same thing here. I've got 73 total of OB, but I already used 63, so I can always parry with my 10. So I can go ahead and just put a 10 in there. If the number's not typing in, you can just always go ahead and just click the up button. That will allow you to increase the value. It's a number fields can be a little weird inside of the browser. No special, no notes, no cover, so I can go ahead and let the ogre attack. And the ogre lands 16 points, but that is it. So it's a strong hit, but not enough to do any sort of critical damage like penalty or bleeding. Same thing, I can mouse over, I can go ahead and do any edits to the critical. I can always go ahead and change the critical table that was the result of the critical table. But that's entirely, again, whether or not you have a spell that allows that or an ability that allows that. Also, you'll notice that when it came to the ogre attacking, the foe was already selected, as was his weapon. As was Akira's weapon was already selected, and all of the weapon information already put in there. As you can see, his OB used is now 73, because I parried with 10. So as you keep using this, this should get faster and faster. It should become a lot easier to use. So let's go ahead and go to Magor. He is a spellcaster, so I want to show you how spells are casted. Let's go ahead and select Ogre, and let's cast an Elemental Bolt. Let's see how an elemental spell happens in combat. So with an Elemental Bolt, I need to select a critical. That's going to be Impact, and I need to select an attack size Tiny. That's how these things start off. That's what the description tells me. If you forgot what the description of the spell is, you can read it right here. Now, when it comes to scaling, if I need to scale the spell, if I want to scale the spell, I can. And let's say I want to scale, so I want my attack size to be a medium, not a tiny. So I'll go here, click on Add Scaling Options, and it's the potency that I want to add. And I want to add 2 options to that, because for every option that I buy, it's going to increase my attack size. And also because I did that, I've increased the power points to be used from 5 to 9 plus 4, because it's going to cost me 2 per option. So 2 times 2 is 4. And because of what I put in here as a scaling option, I now increase my penalty by a -10. Click on Apply Scaling Options, and all of that information is now going to show up down here. So what else do we have? Well, we have the same idea that we had with a melee attack, because that's basically the idea. This is an attack. It's a missile attack in this case, but it's still the same kind of an attack. So we still need an OB. That OB comes from the skill rank of the spell. Whether it's going to be flank, rear, foe, unaware, it's entirely, again, up to you. This time, though, I do need a distance from target, and I will leave the player roll. Like that. I didn't have my numlock key on. That's what was going on. I didn't have my numlock key on. That's pretty funny. So the player roll, I will leave that blank. If you use a spell adder, the PP cost will be not taken away. So the PP cost is 9. PowerPoint cost is 9. So if I use a spell adder, those 9 PowerPoints actually will not be taken away, because I'm using a spell adder, if that's how the rules go. I'm pretty sure that's how a spell adder works. If you allow I think it allows you to cast a spell without the use of PowerPoints. I could be wrong. I haven't played HARP in a while, but that's a possibility. I don't usually play spellcasters. I usually play like martial art fighters when I'm playing any sort of campaign. So the scaling option is there. It's increased potency, and it's per attack each bonus. So I better make sure I update that, because the program doesn't know what you've done. You've got to apply that manually yourself. I can certainly try to program that, I suppose, but that's, we're talking an expansion of code there to make sure that each spell has a link to some sort of property that gets updated. I got my base cost, which is 5, but I got those 2 PowerPoints, 2 scaling options, so that's going to give me a total cost of 9. That's a penalty of a -20. I can always put in a penalty modifier. I can make it more, I can make it less. This is going to take 2 rounds to cast, and maybe I don't want it to take 2 rounds to cast. Maybe I want it to take 1 round, so I can always adjust that to be 1 round. Now that does increase my penalty, but I now can cast this spell. And if you noticed, you'll notice that when it was at 2, there was a start preparation. I'll get to that with the next character sheet. If I'm able to. If I think there's a character sheet, I may have already used that character sheet. I think that was Akira. But if there's another character sheet that allows me to do a start preparation, I can show you how that one works. But I want to do this. I want to do this right now, so I want to cast the spell right now. So I'm going to go ahead and click on cast, and it's going to come up here and it's going to let me know what happened. Well, it fired, and it hit with a +9 hits, and that was basically it. Again, same idea. It is a spell, but it is an elemental attack spell. So I am able to edit the critical information, and I am able to go up and down the critical table because this is the impact critical table, so I am still able to go up and down. But beyond that, it's the same as an attack when it comes to using a cast spell as an elemental bolt. And of course, they could have parried, I suppose. I guess when it came to parrying, I could have put in any hardcover. They did do a +10 parry. You can always change that to 0. Let's say that there was information here and you're like, ooh, you know what? There shouldn't be any information in there at all. I need to do this with a parry of 0. Well, you've got your information in here. You've got your player role. You can always, again, go ahead and just click on cast spell again. And you'll notice that if it changes, it changes. That would just mean that the attack result got higher. And this information here might have changed because, of course, with the parry, that will actually make your attack results smaller. Okay, the player role will always stay the same. So you don't, unless you change that to 0, then that player role will remain there. So any other changes you make, that player role will stay. So it could be small mistakes that you may have made. You can always make changes to those mistakes. Click on any of this information. Go ahead and cast spell again, and it will update this information for you. Let's go to the next player. And this is Piloth. He's doing a charging attack. Let's just also look at the idea of maybe adding an action. Actually, he doesn't have a chi defense, so I'm not going to do that. I wanted to do an adding action for a chi defense. Let's go to the next player. I want to see if he has, it's Zir Stonefist, and he's got he's the monk with the chi defense. I wanted to show you how you could do more than one action. So for example, let's say you have it set up with this character that he can activate his chi defense, and then he can go ahead and do another action like a melee action. So to do that, you're going to click on Add Action, and you're going to go ahead and select the action that you're going to use for your second action, and now we've got Activate Chi Defense and Melee. The very first action that's going to happen, that you're going to resolve, is the Activate Chi Defense, and that is a maneuver roll. So all we have here are maneuver properties. So we have the maneuver roll, the roll that you will have done. You can leave it 0, and the computer will roll for it. And any modifier. Now, of course, there's going to be an instant modifier of a whatever the skill rank is for that chi defense roll. So let's go ahead and click on maneuver, and it's going to say that it's a partial. Now, that's entirely up to you if you want that to be accepted. Let's say that it is perfectly acceptable that a partial hits. Maybe the chi defense is at the DB is maybe at a -20. So whatever the chi defense is, -20 to the person's DB. However you want to play it. You can even write it down here. Chi defense is -20. So -20 to DB if chi defense is active. And I can write that down, and that'll help me out significantly when it comes to combat. Now, if I click on next player, that's going to take me to the next player, but I'm not done with Zir Stonefist yet. I want to do the next action, which is melee. So to do that, I'm going to click on go to next action. It's going to say that it's going to change action. It's going to go into this particular action here, and you'll notice that all of the properties have now changed. And my note is still there for me. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select a foe. That's going to be the ogre. I'm going to select the weapon that I'm going to use, which will be martial arts strikes. It's medium. I'm going to go ahead and use full attack, and I'm going to let the player roll for me. The ogre cannot parry. He's already used all his action, so I'm going to attack, and there's my hit. And then I did stun him, and so I'm going to go ahead and click on next player. I believe that that's the end of my round. It will tell you that, I skipped over Piloth, so obviously that is going to come up as an unresolved action, but I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm just going to skip over him and go to the next round. Here again is my roll initiatives and declare actions. You can always just go ahead and click on roll initiatives, and we can start our new round from here. So as we can see, Zir Stonefist is still attacking. That ogre was only stunned for the round. Interestingly enough, I don't know how GMs code it. If they're stunned at the end of the round and we go to the next round, do we keep that? Obviously that stun wasn't kept. And so let's just say that, for example, you want that stun to be kept. So you can just go back in there and put one more round in there for him, and then it just automatically has him stunned. The program right now will always reset the stuns and the bleeding. So if he was stunned for one round and this happened at the end of the round, that stun one round will get eliminated as we increment to the next round, and so his stun basically went away. But if you want that to be there, no problem. Just go into the edit button and just add in that stun, and now he's stunned for this round. I'm going to skip Zer Stonefist right now in favor of going to Akira, because I want to show you his cast spell when it comes to Warrior's Might, which is right here. So I'm going to have him cast this spell. I'm going to have him do a scaling option to increase the modifier by +10. And so this means that I need to take 2 rounds to cast this spell. And let's just say that that's exactly what I want to do. I want to take 2 rounds to cast this spell. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Start Preparation. It's going to say under here that says the current spell is under preparation. I can abort it if something bad happens, but as of right now, I am currently under preparation for this spell. While we are doing this, let's go to, not Magor, but let's go to the Ogre. I know he's stunned, but I'm going to have him attack anyway as a melee attack against Magor. And I'm going to have him fumble. I'm going to roll a 2, let's just say. And I will attack. Now, it is possible that the fumble doesn't do anything. He lost grip in the weapon and the opportunity to strike your foe. But it also is possible that something does happen, something serious enough that results in you selecting a critical table and resulting in a 2d10 roll against that critical table, or maybe even just hits. If that happens, then a fumble window will show up, and it's going to say, by selecting a critical if necessary, by either entering the player's roll or having the computer roll itself. The things here says roll a 2d10 on the appropriate critical table. So it doesn't matter what critical table I hit. It was a melee, right? So let's just say that I took a slash on myself. We'll just say that. And I rolled a 2d10. So I took a 10 on that critical table. I click on finish. And so it's going to say that I took 5 hits. And that 5 hits will be applied to me. As you can see, that picture says that hits has applied to me, and it's a fumble. So fumble of results should automatically come up here, and you should be able to resolve them on your own. Okay, going to the next player, I'm just going to skip over all of them, and I'm going to go to the next round. Roll initiatives. I don't think I want Akira to be last, so I'm just going to cheat and have him be second. I'm going to skip over Zer Stonefist again so that I can get to Akira, and so you can see that the current spell is ready to be cast. And so all I really need to do now is cast my spell and see if it has casted. It has casted. And so down here in my notes, I can say gets +10 to any critical result. And I can go ahead and use that when it comes to the critical table, so that if it says that I've got a critical result of a 51, I'm going to go ahead and add 10 to that and say that it's a 61, and then I can update the critical table so to reflect that change. Beyond that, I think that I've covered just about everything when it comes to combat. The current round is up here. The current character is also listed here. And if you want to see the history of everything that's going on, you can always go ahead and click on this Show All Actions. It shows you the actions that have happened per round and basically who got hit and what has happened. But beyond that, that's the basics of the combat. If there's any questions, anything that doesn't make sense, you're asking if something is missing, anything at all, please put that down in the comments, and I'll be happy to see if there's something that I can do to make that a particular part of that combat work, or if it's just an explanation, some kind of an additional thing that I need to add to this tutorial. Again, thank you so much for purchasing AutoHARP 3, and happy gaming.